We also got an email from a Mr. John Yakim, and he has several questions. There's a few that are kind of lumped together, and they are currently a moot point because it has to do with how we're going to conduct the meeting. Because at the time he was going off information from the Times Express article saying that only 4 people would come to the meeting and that's it. But since then we have decided to do a Zoom meeting. Obviously all 7 council members are in attendance, and he goes on to discuss about how we canceled the agenda setting meeting, but the home rule charter permits us to do this, and council agrees as a policy decision to combine those meetings together. The home rule charter only requires that we have 1 meeting a month and also to offer public comment period. And that's what we're doing with the email transactions we've been doing over the past several weeks. He also goes on to ask about executive sessions, that we had executive sessions during that. He said there were 3 executive sessions since the start of the pandemic, and he was asking about how they were held and kind of assumed that we were actually meeting in council chambers. But all those meetings were done by teleconference with all 7 members of council calling in, and those will be repeated, read into the record here this evening, and any council legislative action will be taken, if any action, they'll be taken at tonight's meeting. And pardon me, I'm just trying to make sure I get all the points here of these questioning because some of them do overlap. Further goes on about once again, the streaming question, that the article in the Times Express was a little bit off, saying that we were going to be recording the meeting and then broadcasting it afterwards, but we were actually broadcasting this live through our TV channel and through Zoom. So that is a moot point. And it will still continue to be, as we always do, it'll be rebroadcast on the TV 15. It'll be available on YouTube, and certainly minutes are being taken right now, and there will be a record of the minutes as well, a printed record of the minutes. So there's a lot of coverage as far as this meeting goes. He also has a question with spending. He goes on, as we all know, there's probably going to be an impact to the earned income tax, business privilege tax, and real estate taxes by the pandemic, which we would all agree on. And he asks what kind of things that Monroeville is doing to reduce spending. I mentioned that earlier about the department heads cutting back on their spending and some of the freezes that council has been doing along with Manager Little. Asks if there's consideration to reopen the budget. That is always an option, and it's something for council to consider down the road. And I think at this point, we're in April. We are all very, very closely monitoring the situation. We have all year to monitor this, and we can always make these changes as we move forward. He asked about the layoffs, and there were 19 part-time employees laid off from the library and 4 part-time employees laid off at the Senior Citizens Center. And the manager will report on some things later. And current, the MS4 not required by law and can be adjusted entirely by a municipality. So he's asking about that, and if there's any consideration being given to reduce the MS4 program and delay some of the projects until things improve. Council has moved back the late and delayed it to September 30th, and money has already been collected. The changes will be to be determined because at this point, the state has not changed any of their requirements of the things that we have to do to reduce our sediment, to continue to comply with our permit that we have. But at this point, those are the changes that have been done there. And then lastly, he goes on to ask about 2 events that happened recently at revolving around 2 different emergency service personnel at 2 different fire companies. Both matters are being investigated. And at this time, we are advised by legal counsel not to comment on these things, but more information as we go through our investigation will be forthcoming in public once we get through those investigations. And those are the ends. That's the end of Mr. Yakim's comments. And then we also